they head to the backstretch. It's a tight pack.
He's going to pull ahead. The TwinSpires expert picks were all optimistic.
You've got the best speed rating in the field. Don't fail me now.
Man, I love this horse's name.
And from far behind, here comes Frank. It's neck and neck. Frank is winning. Frank wins.
Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby. Get your money back if your horse finishes second or third in eligible races.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with Nick Tammaro once again for a petite jury. We've got Darren Zacali en route to Louisville, Kentucky for Derby week, and James Scully is very busy at Churchill Downs with the simulcast crew. We're going to talk all things opening night on Saturday, April 26th at Churchill Downs, and look at Aqueduct later in the show as well. And Nick, I will let you start things off. Tell me what your best bet is on opening night.
Yeah, very excited about this opening night card. You know, I wish I was giving you a bit bigger price, but race 2, number 7, No Mo Candy. This looks like kind of a layup to me. I know Mission of Joy is favored and likely will be when all is said and done, but No Mo Candy really finished her 2024 strongly for Saffie Joseph Jr., comes back off a layoff, still has an allowance condition and takes advantage of that here. She's got a big pace advantage on this field, Ashley, and I think one of the things I can still trust Frankie Dettori with at this stage of the game is on a speed horse. So I'm looking for him to get control of this race early. And No Mo Candy really blossomed as the year went on when they let her utilize a little bit more of her early foot. So all signs point to her being a tough customer with that good speed in a compact field where class-wise, I think Mission of Joy very much stacks up to her, if not really outclasses her based on some of her races last year. But she didn't exactly end 2024 on a high note, whereas No Mo Candy absolutely did.
Yeah, between the two morning line choices, I certainly like No Mo Candy a lot better on a 3-win streak coming out of that Grade 3 Pebbles Stakes. So I would take the 7 over Mission of Joy as well out of this field.
Yeah, should be a good race all in all as we get to the turf early on the card.
I will take it to race 6 on Saturday. It's a 6.5 furlong maiden claimer for 3-year-olds and up, and I went with number 4, Topicana. Kind of an open race. Maiden claimers can be a little difficult sometimes, but I see upside with this runner. Trained by Brian Lynch, has Irving Moncada aboard. Switching back to dirt after 2 starts on turf, last 2 starts. Facing maiden special weight company as well. Now dropping down to a maiden claimer. Brian Lynch is a high percentage winner going from the maiden special weight level to a maiden claimer. And Topicana can improve second off the layoff here. Has a bullet work on April 20th at Churchill as well. So ended up going with this number 4 horse at 4-1. Looking at the other horses in here, just not seeing a lot of upside out of the field.
Yeah, this was actually going to be my best bet, and then Blaze sent me yours, and I did not want to do the same thing.
I'd like to hear it then.
I'm going to tread lightly on any kind of morning line conversation, and I'll just leave it at there's no chance this horse is 4-1. This horse is going to be 6-5 or less. This is an overwhelming favorite with 2 really good dirt races in comparison to what he's facing here, right? I mean, they came against good horses. They came down at Gulfstream, and now he's switching surfaces for Brian Lynch. Looks to be training well also. Yeah, all signs point to this horse being a pretty short-priced favorite. I don't love necessarily that Brian Lynch is kind of waving the white flag because this horse does look like at one point he showed he could be competitive against Maiden Special Weight Company, but the connections probably figure, hey, if somebody wants him for 50, then he can certainly pack his bags and move on pretty quickly. But I thought Topicana was probably one of the more likely winners on the card, and certainly am in your camp as far as him being one of the good bets on the day, at least at this stage. We'll see what the price ends up being.
Hopefully we get a little bit better than 6-5 at post time. But yeah, I don't think 4-1 will be the case.
You and I can individually decide on what price, and then perhaps make a side wager.
Yeah, we're all about the side wagers on the jury.
Absolutely.
Let's move over to the horses. We're fading at a short price. So who is that for you, Nick?
Yeah, so I wanted to go to the 1.25 mile event on this card, which goes as the 7th. And there's a horse that's going to be probably a soft favorite for Kenny McPeak, who I don't particularly like the chances of this filly getting the 1.25 mile with any success. That's the 2, Plaza Q, who I felt like is just going to be overbet, and I wanted other options. So I think there are some interesting horses in this field all in all, and this is a horse that probably drifts down off the 5-2. You know, the thing, Ashley, about this horse's pedigree is it's really not geared towards the 1.25 mile. It's actually, I think, a pedigree that's probably better going a little bit shorter. And I don't want a horse that's been losing ground in the closing stages of her last few starts, especially for a trainer who I really look at as a guy that's good at getting distance out of horses. I think Kenny is definitely one you can put in that camp. And she's just kind of spun her wheels late in her last couple. Last time out, in fact, she was pretty bad. That was a tougher race top to bottom than this. This is a restricted maiden race. That was an open maiden won by Heavenly Sunset on a sloppy track. But I don't necessarily want to just say, hey, she's a fade. I do think there are other horses in here that are interesting from a betting perspective, mainly the 6 and 8. Ashes and Diamonds and Vino Tiempo. Vino Tiempo missed by a nose last out in an open maiden special weight event at Oaklawn. And I think being from Tommy Vance's barn, you're actually still going to get a relatively decent price on this horse. So I'll fade Plaza Q, look to the outside for a couple horses that might offer a little bit more value.
Was almost my fade of the week as well, and I'm with you on the 8. I thought that was probably my top choice in this race, just looking at the upside finish to the nose, as you mentioned, last out in that maiden special weight at a mile and a 16th. I thought both of Joe Sharp's horses in here looked like they had a chance, but I like that 6 Ashes and Diamonds. And then Churning Bernie, too, coming out of Keeneland, I thought it's going to be a really quick turnaround, but second start with David Jacobson, I thought maybe we could see some improvement going longer too. He raced 7 furlongs last out and closed okay that day. So I thought longer distance, maybe we could see something happen with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. Let's see, what race am I taking it to? I'm going with the first race on opening night, and that is number 8 Hoodlum, the 3-1 morning line favorite I will play against in a 1 mile claimer for 4-year-olds and up. This is a 6-year-old gelding cutting back to a mile on the dirt for the first time in several starts and hasn't won in a while either. Well, 5 starts back, won at Churchill, but going a little bit longer. Sat right off the pace that day and then gained a lead at the stretch. Kind of unsure what they're trying to do with this horse. He raced on turf last out at 7.5 furlongs. And then before that, racing on the dirt, race between a mile and a 16th and a mile and an 8th. So now going back to a mile here and looking at speed figures, looking at recent form, I just see reasons to play against this horse and prefer a few others. I like the 1, Tiberius Mercurius, who's finished in the money all 3 times, racing at a mile. I like the 5 Peruvian Lucky. He's intriguing second off the claim for Jason Cook. He's very high percentage winner, second off the claim, 6 for 12 with a $2.25 ROI, second off the claim. And then number 7, Synthesis, 7-2, some of the better recent speed figures. So seeing that there's some others I can make a case for, I'd rather play against this morning line favorite to kick off the card on Saturday.
No, I love it. Any opportunity to take a chance against what could be a vulnerable favorite, obviously we want to take it. I thought this was a tough race. I tried to poke through it and find something we could talk about here and largely came up empty, but I agree. It's always hard to determine what a trainer is doing when it comes to playing the claiming game. And this is a horse that Al pretty deliberately tried to keep out of the claiming ranks after trying him in it early in his career. But yeah, I guess he's just spotted where he belongs. But I agree. Why not take a little chance? One of the fun things about handicapping this time of year, and I will say that in making morning lines at Keeneland, it hasn't been all that fun, is trying to find dirt form for horses that have been running on synthetics. Right, because obviously the racing at Turfway has improved so significantly in recent years that we're seeing a lot of good horses, a lot of good claimers especially, making their way back to dirt. And you're trying to filter through their past performances to find, okay, well, this one can run on dirt, this one maybe can't. It's a fun exercise, and I think it's definitely one that can help you ferret out a little bit of value here and there also. This is what happened last week, and it was actually my internet that was the problem, not Ashley's. I hope that's not the case this time around, because I can continue to talk. That is not something I struggle with whatsoever. But I will get notified one way or the other what the situation is, and we'll proceed from there. My internet seems pretty stable. Now she's back. Ashley, are you back? Or is it me who was gone?
You're back up. You're on.
I'm on. I can't even see anything. Well, I can't see.
Well, Ashley is back, but can't hear me.
Can't see.
I'm going to continue to talk. Obviously, the card was just drawn for Thurby, which is very exciting. 12 races on tap. I was telling the guys before we got started that Speedboat Beach is going to make his return in there, facing Bango, the all-time winningest horse at Churchill Downs. A pretty nice matchup there. His stablemate Fort Bragg is going to be in there as well. Fort Bragg, if some of you have forgotten, won a really stirring rendition of the 2023 Dwyer over Saudi Crown. We've not seen Speedboat Beach, I want to say, since he won the Malibu in 2023. I could be forgetting the start in the interim, but that'll be a lot of fun on Thurby, of course, which now is one of the bigger days of the weekend. We've also got Tuesday and Wednesday's cards drawn for Churchill Downs. We have the William Walker and the Isaac Murphy on Wednesday. I think Ashley's going to talk about the Isaac Murphy when she gets back into the mix. I'll be talking a little bit about race on Sunday at Aqueduct when we do our what else, but of course, going over some other things going on at Churchill Downs. We've got the TwinSpires tournaments that are up and running, all guns towards the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, which will take place on Kentucky Derby Day. Very exciting that we'll have that. We've got qualifiers each day, including one that's going right now at Keeneland. There's a bonus one going at Keeneland tomorrow, and an $800 Churchill Downs KDBC qualifier on Saturday night as part of that night program. Of course, the Derby and Oaks will be drawn on Saturday night. Travis Stone is going to be hosting that. I know he's been working his little brain off to get all kinds of factoids and random nuggets that he can throw into the draw. One of the cool things about the job Travis does with that is, having learned from the late John Asher, he really takes it very seriously, because it was something that was very important to John. Well, here I have filibustered everyone enough to get Ashley into the mix.
That was a great job.
I think I may have paused a second or two, but you have no doubt that I can talk for minutes on end.
I could hear some of it. It was very impressive, very well done. And I think you covered some of our tournaments. And then did we go over promos? I don't know if that happened. Okay, so let's reel it back and talk about
I was waiting for somebody to give me promos in my earpiece, and then I realized I don't have an earpiece.
We'll work on that for next quarter. I guess I'll mention we'll have all access coverage for Derby week, and Nick, you'll be a part of that when you get in town, I believe on Monday, Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
We're also going to have our contenders workouts with our morning work show, and that can be found at YouTube on TwinSpires YouTube page. We'll have a lot of that coverage posted there. We also have a ton of promos coming up. Our $10 money back offer for Kentucky Derby week. If your horse finishes second or third, you will get your money back for all eligible races starting on opening night this Saturday through Kentucky Derby Day. And then we have 10 points at Aqueduct. Since you're going to talk about Aqueduct, Nick, I thought I'd throw in that promo and mention that as well on Sunday. So that's your rewards points. You get 10 times the rewards points. And then finally, it's closing day at Keeneland on Friday. So we've got a 25% double down promo. If you hit 2 daily doubles, you get a 25% boost at Keeneland, which you're very familiar with, Nick, being the morning line maker. And then, do you have anything else?
Yes, luckily my morning line work was done as of last weekend, so everybody can just fire away on their comments about the morning line. So I fixed it.
Nick, I love the comments.
Nick, just give me 1 second. I'm going to transition something. And you're back, Ashley.
All right. And thank you to the audience for bearing with us as we deal with technical difficulties. I believe now we're on to what else we're looking forward to this weekend. So, Nick, tell us about Aqueduct.
Yeah, so 7th race at Aqueduct on Sunday. I think there are probably some connections in here that thought, oh, this is a good little one other than to drop my horse into. They got the overnight and realized that Cornucopian ends up showing up here. I have to admit, I was awfully surprised to see this horse in this spot, but it looks as if there's some intent behind it. And it spaces out to a race that's run in Maryland in 3 weeks afterwards pretty nicely. So I think Cornucopian could very much be in the mix to run in the Preakness after this race. He obviously is coming off a 4th place finish in the Arkansas Derby. That was really an enormous effort. And he got involved in a supersonic pace in there, battling early on with Speed King and ultimately paying the price, ending up finishing 4th behind Sandman Publisher and Coal Battle, all of whom had done their running from deep in the pack. So I'm intrigued to see Cornucopian obviously back against softer competition. But I don't want to say this competition is all that soft. Sand Devil is in it. He comes off a try in the Wood Memorial where he proved pretty clearly 1 turn is his game. 1 1/8 is out of his scope. But he's a horse who had posted 3 straight very, very strong speed figures, 3 straight solid efforts after breaking his maiden on debut very impressively. So he obviously gets a step down in competition. I have a feeling, knowing Linda Rice a little bit, she might opt for a different spot, seeing Cornucopian in the entries in here. But I also don't want to shortchange the two from Chad Brown that include Keewaydin and Garamond. Keewaydin was a 4-5 favorite in the Remsen when we last saw him back in early December. And Garamond finished third last out in the Gotham. Now, that's a race that hasn't really held up all that great from a subsequent form perspective. But we'll see and how Garamond can fare dropping in competition a little bit as well. So this is a really intriguing one other than. It's on Sunday. There's obviously no racing in Kentucky on Sunday with the week starting again on Tuesday. So all eyes will definitely be on this seventh race of one other than at Aqueduct at about 4:22 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, it's a loaded field. Excited to see what Cornucopian does. Obviously, he was part of a really hot pace that day at the Arkansas Derby and now making his third career start. And he's going to have Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. But those two from Chad Brown you mentioned, I think Garamond I find a little bit more intriguing here coming off that third in the Gotham.
Yeah, I think Keewaydin wants to go short. I still think he might want to go shorter than a mile. But I also don't think that Chad anticipated this is what he was going to run into entering a one other than. But he might as well get started somewhere. I think they'll ultimately figure out what Keewaydin's best distance is. I would say probably somewhere around 7/8. When you run the kind of race he did 2 starts back as a 2-year-old, it's pretty clear you have talent, right? It's just a matter of whether it's really if he's going to develop as time goes by.
Well, I will wrap things up talking about some of the big names earlier in the week of Kentucky Derby week. And we have, of course, opening night on Saturday, then 5-0 Tuesday on Tuesday. But then it's Wednesday, WINS Wednesday. And we have 2 stakes that day on the card. So starting with the Isaac Murphy Marathon at 1.5 miles, we have Honor Marie back, finished 8th last year in the Kentucky Derby and really likes Churchill, has 2 wins, a second. And the one out of the money finish, I should say, was when he was 8th in the Kentucky Derby, but out of 4 starts has really good form at Churchill. First time going this long, though, and we do have another in the field who's coming off a win, Lambeth, who went gate to wire that day in the Temperance Hill Stakes at Oaklawn, going 1.5 miles. So probably a better choice in this race, but intrigued to see what Anna Marie does going longer. Didn't have the best first start out as a 4-year-old at Oaklawn, but certainly could improve second off the layoff. And then in race 9 on Wednesday, we have the William Walker Stakes with Governor Sam returning off a third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Definitely going to be tough to beat. And I think, Nick, you talked to some connections about this horse. He looks like the fastest by far in the field, has a really high brisnet prime power compared to everybody else in the field. Excited to see what he does in this race as well.
Yeah, spoke to a minority owner. I did not speak to Alex Bregman. I spoke to the minority owner, Reagan Swinbank, yesterday. He had a lot of good things to say about Governor Sam. They're looking forward. And the horse's name is coming to fruition as Alex Bregman, former Houston Astro, now current Boston Red Sox. Yeah, exactly. His dad is running for governor of New Mexico, and his dad is named Sam. So that was part of the angle. I guess this was the start of the campaign. But, this horse is a good 2-year-old. So it's going to be fun to see if he can take a step forward at 3. And obviously $300,000 for a turf sprint is a pretty hefty sum. So I'm looking forward to seeing Anna Marie as well. That horse really knocked heads with all the heavies last year and deserves a moment in the sun. You and I, of course, know that more distance doesn't necessarily mean a good thing for a deep closer, but he feels like a horse who can grind away and show us what life is like in this marathon division after next.
Let's go Witt. Let's go Beckman. Yeah.
We got the peanut gallery here today. Now
Yeah,
that I've
Blaze now enter the chat, and that's probably not a great result for anybody.
Well, I think that's all the time we have today with our technical difficulties. We're excited to see you here in town, Nick, and very much looking forward to the all-access coverage that you're going to bring us when you get here to Churchill Downs and hanging out outside of the track, too, because I'm sure we'll be working long hours and very much looking forward to it.
Owe you a dinner, Nick, and a haircut, and can't wait to see when you get to town, buddy.
I'll take you up on both. I'll take care of the haircut here in H-Town. But yes, can't wait to be there. Looking forward to it very much. Just imagine interviewer meets Super Bowl media week. That's going to be me.
Let's go.
Love to hear it. And real quick, we do have the jury, a special jury.
Oh, yes.
On
Monday night. Monday night.
And Nick, you'll be a part of it. And we'll have a grand jury instead of a petite jury. So
we'll get Joey
check that
K.
out. We will put the time out there on social media.
100%.
But yes, an early jury covering the 151st Kentucky Derby and the Oaks. So we'll see you then.
Bye, Nick.
Can't wait.
As they head to the backstretch, it's a tight pack.
He's going to pull ahead. The TwinSpires expert picks were all optimistic.
You've got the best speed rating in the field. Don't fail me now.
Man, I love this horse's name.
And from far behind, here comes Frank. It's neck and neck. Frank is winning. Frank wins.
No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby. Get your money back if your horse finishes second or third in eligible races.